West Eurasians are stronger than we are fast, in general. And what do I mean when I say West Eurasians? This is West Eurasia. So you got the Anglo-Celtic Isles and the Iberian Peninsula in the west, and you have Balad Hashem in the east, the Northern Caucasus in the east, and the Volga Valley in the east. And it says, West Eurasia covers most of Europe and is the westernmost section of the Palearctic realm with 5 major sub-realms: Greater European mixed forests, European mountain forests, Black Sea forests and steppe, the Mediterranean, the Anglo-Celtic Isles. My dad's from the Anglo-Celtic Isles sub-realm of West Eurasia. My mom's from the Mediterranean sub-realm. My dad's English. My mom's Palestinian and Lebanese. Right? I'll show you my DNA. Again, it says Welsh because my dad's from Crewkerne, which is in southwestern England. So there's a little bit of Celtic admixture, but still largely Germanic. And then my mom's from Isfiya in Palestine and a bunch of cities in Lebanon, but mostly in Mount Lebanon. So Beit Meri, Romana, Beirut, Haret Herek, Khobeiri, Shuf, Ale, Baklin. That's mostly where my mom's from, right? Haplogroups. Where? My maternal haplogroup's L1b, so clearly Lebanese and Palestinian. My paternal haplogroup is IZ60, clearly English. And in terms of Lebanon, common in Mount Lebanon for my maternal haplogroup. Not as common in Palestine, but it's mostly found in the Haifa Governorate, where I'm actually originally from. My mom's family is from Isfiya, Beit Meri, Beirut, Khobeiri, Haret Herek, and my dad's from Crewkerne. So we have, West Eurasians tend to have a decent ACTN 3 score and a great ACE score, right?
Your taxes 100%.
So this is from Team 3D Alpha.
Free in the app if you didn't use us last year. Just file with TurboTax Do It Yourself.
Advanced things where you actually do not want your blood pressure to go up from desert.
And it'll...
Jump in my new car with me. I got it on cars.com.
Brother, we don't want to see
It's got everything I searched for.
Khalas with Al Siyara.
You're not limited to anything.
I don't want no ads, dude. I want science, son.
Openly and honestly.
Ask your healthcare provider if Biktarvy is right for you, and visit Biktarvy.com to view the important facts, including important warnings.
Areas, the further away you go.
So look, this is the ACE D allele, which is like the crazy, fast twitch, good at sports genetics. And you can see Tunisians, Algerians, Somalis, Egyptians, Omanis, Egyptians, Jordanians, Emiratis, Sudanese, Syrians. Not sure where Palestinians and Lebanese would fit in, but they'd be somewhere in here. And then Nigerians, people from the Caucasus, then Indians, then Japanese 1, Japanese 2, Chinese, Yanomamis, then Samoans, and Aboriginals. So ACE is mostly in Western Asia, Northern Africa, and parts of Eastern Africa. So, and that makes West Eurasians, specifically Lebanese and Palestinians and Syrians, good at combat sports. Now we have the question of why the Englishman is so strong, right? And although it's mainly going to talk about
The majority of the, strongman champions come from, right? Here.
So look at this. England's included in that. Where's my dad from? England. Where's my mom from? Palestine and Lebanon. So look at this. England, good at strongman. Right?
Most of them come from here, right? Obviously, you have America because,
English descendants and Scottish descendants. Lowland Scots, by the way, not Highlanders, though they're Celtic. Lowlanders, who are Germanic and related to the English and the Icelandics and the Norwegians, they're also in America, right? So they're settlers, by the way.
Banned at first, but most of them come from here. As you can see here.
So look at this. United Kingdom. If you go to the southwestern part of the United Kingdom, you'll find a town called Crewkerne. That's where my dad's from. That's where my entire paternal lineage is from.
These are the champions by country. You have the United States, you have Iceland, United Kingdom, Lithuania, Finland, Poland.
And the Englishman is so tall, he can put on the muscle. Fill out his frame.
So as far as country goes,
Average height. Look at that. The Englishman is a tall man.
Other than Europe.
Right?
So
and they eat hella protein up there. Right? And then when you...
Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here, back with another video on top tier.
By the way, shout out, like to Team 3D Alpha, like and subscribe.
So we're gonna pick up where we left off. Last time we did top 10 human races ranked based on bodybuilding potential, which is just purely putting on a ton of muscle without gaining a lot of body fat. This time we're gonna do based on strength, right? Producing as much force as possible. And we're gonna look at, we're not just looking at powerlifting, guys. Powerlifting is only 3 lifts. We're looking at everything. With 3 powerlifting lifts, all the strongman lifts, Olympic lifting, everything. So pretty much the ability to be as...
And going back to the article about Western Asia, many people in the comments, including myself, who are Western Asian, have confirmed that they're fast twitch. They're lean but fast twitch and strong. Right? And vascular, unlike the Englishman, which we'll get to.
Strong as possible. Now, before we get started, obviously, I gotta put the disclaimer, guys. So if you already know the disclaimer, just skip it. Go on.
And by the way, this video I'm making is for scientific purposes to learn my genetics and use them to my advantage in combat sports. That's why I'm making this video.
Chapter, if you're new, if it's your first time watching stuff, right? Second is obviously fast with excessive helps with strength.
So top 5 criteria: skeletal muscle structure, hypertrophy related gene polymorphisms, ability to bloat max. That's the polite way to say that. Androgen receptor sensitivity and activity, strength related gene polymorphisms.
For reasons I'm not going to go into this video. Number 4, we're going to look at androgen receptor polymorphisms. Again, I went into details in previous videos. And last but not least, we're going to look at the amount of gene polymorphisms that favor strength. Believe it or not, there's a ton of studies on that, right? There's a lot of genes that give you an advantage in strength, right? And all of these are based on studies, no opinions here. All right, let's get started. So Europeans, you guys should know if you watch my video on strongman and Asian, whatever, then I'm about to know category, right? Especially Central Europe, Eastern.
So people from the Balkan region, Turks, Russians, Scandinavians, etc. So Scandinavians, Germanic. Who else is Germanic? English people. Where is my dad from? My dad's from Crewkerne, England. My dad's clearly from Crewkerne, England. Right? My entire paternal lineage is from Crewkerne, England. That's probably why I have good gene polymorphisms for strength, especially ADRB2. We'll get to that in a second.
In Europe and Scandinavians, right? Skeletal structure, damn near perfect for strength, right? Height, low center of gravity, short limbs due to Bergman's rule and the adaptation to...
Again, Bergman's rule, cold weather, short limbs, warm weather, long limbs.
Evolving in a cold climate, leverages, you name it.
And it gets cold in England, trust me.
Not to mention the Scandinavians are tall as fuck, so that obviously helps them pack on a lot of muscle mass. That's also the reason...
Same with the English, which is another Germanic population, also tall.
Why, if you look at the NFL, the positions that require the most strength, it's actually very fucking close between whites and blacks, whereas the positions that require a lot of speed are just dominated by blacks, right? And I would explain why. So, Europeans at the top, the only thing that lacking is androgen receptor activity. Blacks dominate that. But out of the top 5 things that I mentioned, They have four. They have four of the top five, especially the gene polymorphisms. They have a ton of gene polymorphisms that favor strength, you know. And again, those genes affect different things: tendons, ligaments, bone structure, blah, blah, you name it. If you don't believe me, do the research yourself. And they're also able to put on a lot of fat easily. Once again, adaptation to the code. Next, West African descendants. Also, I'm about to another category, but that's only because of 4 of the top 5 criteria. They are able to put on muscle extremely fast. You guys already know I made a ton of videos about that. The best gene polymorphisms for actinin 3 and androgen receptor sensitivity. So again, when they use steroids, they blow the fuck up at much lower doses than the average person. The only thing that hurts them a bit is the skeletal structure, right? They don't have an optimal skeletal structure for strength, right? Europeans have that. And that's mainly because West Africans evolved close to the equator where it's extremely hot. So obviously Bergman and Adams, Crewkerne, so
Longer limbs for the Sierra Leoneans and Liberians.
Limbs and more mesomorphic, ectomorphic body types. They also have a very high center of gravity, which is very, very, very helpful for running and sprinting, but very bad when it comes to a lot of powerlifting or strongman lifts. You want to have a low center of gravity for that. They also have extremely long limbs, which again, great for basketball, great for running, bad for strength, right? Just try to bench press with long arms. See how?
I have long arms and I suck at bench press.
Oh, that shit is. Same thing with squats. If you have very long legs,
I have long legs and I mostly do front squats.
God help you. So really the only thing that puts them up there is their ability to put on muscle mass very fast, because obviously that's going to contribute a lot to strength, and their ability to respond and their sensitivity to testosterone, right? Give the average West African descendant, again, that includes African Americans, all that, give them a small dose of DHT derivative, you know, Primo, Masteron, whatever, Anadrol, and they get strong as shit. The downside of that, obviously, is, you know, prostate cancer, right? Because remember, evolution comes with trade-offs. If your androgen receptor is very sensitive to testosterone, then you're also going to have higher rates of prostate cancer. And sure enough, black people have the highest rates of prostate cancer in the whole world. There's obviously different reasons for that too, but again, I covered that in previous videos. Next, Asians. Believe it or not, even though they're ranked so low in the previous video, because that one was just for bodybuilding, for strength, fucking amazing. Right? If you look at the studies, it's very surprising, because you would think they'll be down here, right? Based on their, you know, the other things they lack at, but they're actually very, very fucking strong. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Even if you don't believe the studies, just walk into your gym, you're gonna see a skinny, short Asian.
I've seen that with the Cambodians, I've seen that with the Japanese, I've seen that with the Chinese. Kind of short, but hella strong.
Squatting fucking 4 plates, bench pressing 3 plates like it's nothing, and then he just walks to the water fountain, scrawny as shit, and you're like, what the fuck? It's also no coincidence that these guys dominate Olympic lifting, along with Russia and stuff like that. And it's mainly because of the skeletal structure and a lot of polymorphisms, right? They have a low center of gravity, they have very short limbs, which is great for Olympic lifting. They have some high frequencies for gene polymorphism for strength, but not as much as the other groups. The only drawback is androgen receptor sensitivity is actually very low. But some of them actually have a lot of polymorphisms that allow them to take a lot of testosterone and still pass the T ratio test, right? So you can kind of put that in there as well. So they can take a lot of drugs. Again, not all of them, but, you know, a small group can take a lot of drugs and still pass the test, right? Which is, again, cheating, but everyone at the top level uses steroids. Next, South Asians. Guys, I'm sorry, man. South Asians have some of the shittiest genetics for strength and some of the shittiest genetics for bodybuilding. And again, don't shoot the fucking messenger, man. You guys know I gotta keep it objective. I love my South Asian brothers. It's just, man, you guys would fuck in so many departments. And again, when I make a video on the whole South Asian population, I'm gonna explain exactly what it is. It's all natural selection. Don't take that shit personally, guys. And also keep in mind, this is South Asians as a group on average. It does not mean that within the South Asian population, you're not gonna find any very, very strong groups. No, I'm just talking about on average. On average, you guys are fucked. But if you dive deeper, of course, you're gonna find a lot of ethnic groups, you know, that are extremely strong, even in India and all the surrounding parts. Next, Middle East, North Africa, fucking amazing.
So that's the other half of my genetics, right? Lebanese and Palestinian. That's my mom's side. Amazing strength.
When it comes to strength and power output, again, if you watch the previous video, make sure you watch that one first. You're gonna figure out why.
ACE, ACTN3, and especially ADRB2.
They're pretty much the best of both worlds, right? They have a lot of genes that sub-Saharan Africans have, and they also have a lot of genes that Europeans have. And they also have a lot of, a small percentage of Asian genes. So they're pretty much the best of them.
That makes sense, right? Because we're between all of them. If you look at Lebanon, if you look at Palestine, we're between all of them.
Both worlds, right? So it pretty much depends on what part of the Middle East you're looking at.
So we're looking at Isfiya. We're looking at Lebanon and Palestine. Isfiya in Lebanon, Bet Meri in Lebanon, Beirut in Lebanon, Khobairi in Lebanon, Hadet Hedek in Lebanon. Let's go Google Earth. So this region is known as Balad Sham in Arabic. Balad Sham, it's my home region in Asia. Right? So, these are my towns I'm most related to. Again, north part of Balad is closer slightly to Europe and North Africa than it is to Sub-Saharan Africa. I don't know why I scroll. Like, this is Sub-Saharan Africa. It's closer to like Yemen and Sudan and Saudi and Egypt. Western Asia, especially Balad Sham, is closer to Turkey, which is Eastern Europe, and to Egypt, which is North Africa. So we're going to be better at strength, right? And again, we go across the board. I have better strength than I do speed, right? Decent result for ACVR1B, CNTF, decent result. Decent result for IL15RA. Crazy results for ADRB2 and PPARA.
I would say one of the luckiest, quote unquote,
I guess that's why my clinch game is is better than my striking.
There's ethnic groups in the world, is Middle Eastern guys, right? Because they are right there in the middle. They literally have the most balanced genetic profile. Strength, muscle building, IQ, you name it. They're right there in the middle, right? And if you look at the map, it makes...
There, see? Lebanon and Palestine, right there, brother. Right there. Right in the middle.
Perfect sense, right? They're literally right there at the middle of so many wars and so many conquests. And, you know, wanted to go from east to west or west to east, you had to go past the Middle East, right? Same thing, if you wanted to go from Sub-Saharan Africa and follow the land bridge into East Africa, West Africa, you were going to go through the Middle East, right? So these guys are some of the luckiest people on the planet because they have a mixture of so
Alhamdulillah for the Palestinian and Lebanese ancestry.
Many positive adaptations. Next, Native Americans, believe it or not, Native Americans are bad, right? And again, it's mainly because of natural...
And then if you look over here...
So, Eurasian countries dominate weightlifting. Look at this chart here. And that's all the Olympic gold medals by nation. As you can tell, completely dominated by Eurasian nations, right? Europe and Asia. Now, we know that black people are really good at power sports, really good athletes, as I mentioned in previous videos. So why is it that Olympic weightlifting is dominated by Eurasians? Is it just a participation issue?
And so is wrestling too, by the way. The only good African country at wrestling is Egypt, and they're West Eurasian. They're Arab.
Or is there more to it? Let's find out. Anyway, so this is another episode of...
Obviously, Icelandics, strongmen, West African descendant sprints, indigenous Mexicans boxing, East Africans distance running, West Africans bodybuilding, Pacific Islanders, American football. And these are like different populations. When you're talking about my populations, you're talking about my dad's side, the English, my mom's side, the Lebanese and the Palestinians.
Race, right? I'm talking about different populations of people, right?
So yeah, natural selection, colder weather, endomorphic, warmer weather, ectomorph or mesomorph.
Again, Europeans and Asian, European descendants. All right, so in order to understand, you have to look at the two lifts, right? You obviously have the snatch and you have the clean and jerk, right? These are the two main Olympic lifts. Now, what does ethnicity have to do with that? What does race have to do with that, right? Well, obviously, reason number one is anatomy, right? There are differences in terms of anatomy when you look at the different races, right? When you look at the different groups. For example, let's put a black guy here and a white guy. First major anatomical difference is arm length,
So you got a guy from Ghana or Sierra Leone and a guy from England.
right? Limbs. Remember we talked about Bergman and Allen's rule earlier. On average, black people have longer limbs relative to their body height. White people have shorter limbs relative to their body height, right? And keep in mind, this is on average, guys. You're always going to find an exception.
My dad.
Again, this is
My dad's hella lanky.
mainly because of Bergman and Allen's rule. Second thing is the legs, right? Black people have longer legs, right? Which obviously makes them great runners, whereas white people have shorter legs relative to their height. So, and the third major difference is obviously torso, right? Black people have shorter torsos, obviously because they have longer legs, and white people have longer torsos relative to their body height, which obviously leads to different centers of gravity, right? White people have a lower center of gravity, black people have a higher center of gravity, right? Which is really good for running, whereas having a lower center of gravity is actually better for power sports, you know, such as weightlifting and powerlifting, right? Same thing with the shorter arms
See, I got long limbs, but like jacked.
and shorter legs. Very, very useful when it comes to powerlifting and weightlifting. I mean, think about it. That drastically lowers your range of motion. So pretty much this body.
And this is why West Africans, in terms of strength and conditioning, they don't do as well when training or coaching West Eurasians.
is more optimized for
Because they don't understand that West Eurasians are more hyper responsive to strength than they are to speed.
heavy lifting, whereas this body is more optimized for obviously running.
And that's just a scientific observation.
Again, if you watch my video on East Africans and West Africans and stuff like that, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you look at the sport of weightlifting, right, the two main lifts, I mean, think about it. Having shorter arms gives you a massive, massive range. You know, again, the range of motion is shorter. All your leverages are optimized, right? Having shorter legs, same thing, right? Less distance, the ball has different body adaptations.
So Neanderthals more shorter, more jacked. Modern humans longer limbs, taller. And West Eurasians have more of those Neanderthal genes. And then you go the ACTN3. Why are they normalizing the Zionist entity? Are they talking Zionist settlers? Or are they talking actually indigenous Palestinians? So I'm an actual indigenous Palestinian from the village of Isfiya, largely descended from Druze and Melkite populations. Druze, Melkites. I'm also descended from Lebanese Druze, Lebanese Melkites, and Lebanese Shia Muslims. And that's my entire maternal lineage. Haplogroup L1b. So, look, Iran, 20% of my ancestry is Iraqi adjacent, right? That should be Palestine. Occupied 1948 Palestine. 15% of me, and then I don't know why they're normalizing the Zionist entity on this. It's Palestine from the river to the sea. Believe me.
Closer, you see you have USA blacks here, Jamaicans here, Ethiopians here, and look, Iran, Russia, China, Greece, right? So most of these countries with dominant weightlifting, you know, are not at the bottom of the list, right? It's somewhere up here. So that definitely helps them.
See, we're in the middle. West Eurasians, some West Eurasians. So Iran, Iraq, Georgia tend to be higher. I hate that they normalize the Zionist entity, tend to be higher than Lebanese or Palestinians. But Lebanese and Palestinians are just as strong, right? In terms of ADRB2. And I don't know why they're normalizing the Zionist entity. Quit normalizing the Zionist entity. It's Palestine from river to sea. This is my village. This is Palestine. So yeah.
When it comes to weightlifting, because obviously weightlifting is a power sport. Third reason is the bottleneck events. Guys, you gotta understand.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. The Crusades, English colonization, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Persians, the Ottomans. We've had so many bottlenecks. And on my dad's side, you have the Normans, the Celts. Yeah, so many bottlenecks.
And Europeans and Asians went through so many bottleneck events, right? And what happens after every bottleneck event? Natural selection, right?
The weak get rooted out, exactly. So
the Romans further down to the south again. I mean, this is all.
I forgot about the Romans. But so if you look in more into this, right? I have a decent ACTN3 score. Not as good as some West Africans. Not as good as the West Africans, but still pretty good, right? But when you get into some of the strength, CNTF, decent. ACV R1B, decent. IL15RA, decent. By the way, if you're Lebanese or Palestinian, make a video like this. Tag me in it. I want to know, man. Is it just me or is it other people from my nationalities? And then ADRB2, I'm off the charts here. I have a great ADRB2 genotype. My PPARA genotype is pretty good too. So I dominate. Dude, I dominate with ADRB. I do well with ACTN3, but dude, I dominate with ADRB2. And I don't know if it's if it's just me. Is it from my dad's side, which is the side from England, or is it from my mom's side, which is from Palestine and Lebanon? But check it. I do well with ACTN3, but I do even better with ADRB2. For strength, speed, scientific details. I do well with ACTN3, but I do even better with ADRB2. And I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just me or if it's, something that's universal among West Eurasians, whether the West Eurasians be from England, in the western part of West Eurasia, or from Lebanon or from Palestine in the eastern part of West Eurasia. So I don't know. Let me know. Peace.